Welcome everybody to another SMS/messaging webinar with Telnyx. I am your friendly neighborhood messaging man, Simon Verbeest. And joining me, a very familiar face, Jonathan Grubbard. And today we are going to be talking about SMS advanced scaling. So all the things that you need to think about when you start getting bigger. In the background, we also have Philip, who is one of our solutions engineers. You may recognize him from previous webinars, or perhaps you've even been lucky enough to interact with him in person or over a call. So in terms of today's agenda, we're going to start with Jonathan, and we're going to talk about streamlining compliance. We're going to talk about advanced content guidelines, special use cases, which is always an interesting one, including politics, very topical at the moment. Philip's going to talk us through common delivery errors and how to troubleshoot these, and then we'll get to the glorious Q&A. As always, if you have questions, you can submit them during the show. Just click the Q&A button on your Zoom menu. It's usually at the bottom of your screen. Maybe it's on the side. It's two little speech bubbles that say Q&A. You can post questions there. I will, depending on how relevant they are and how we're going with time, see if we can get Jono or Philip to answer live. Otherwise, we will save them for the end. But before we do your questions, I have a question of my own, which is a little poll. I'm just going to run this now, which is, which of these topics are you most interested in today? Streamlining compliance, advanced content guidelines, special use cases, common delivery errors, something else, or maybe just listening to Jonathan's pleasant voice.
So I know that last one is a lie, Simon. But I appreciate you putting it.
I would really like at least one person to click it just to, yeah. So look, that's what they're here for, Jono. They're here to listen to your voice. So remember that you can pick multiple things. If there's something, if you want to listen to all the topics, that's fine. Or maybe you have a particular interest area to focus on. So I'll keep this going for another 10 seconds or so. Most of you have answered. Cool. Okay, I will. Oh, no, you're still answering. I'll give it another second in that case. All right, I'll take the results. So it looks like, sorry, you go, Jono.
I was gonna say, yeah, go
ahead. I'll just share the results there. So it looks like streamlining compliance is one of the larger topics, and delivery errors. Oh, no pressure, Philip. That looks like the most popular topic of all. And I can see that lots of people are here to listen to Jonathan's voice. Thank you for those people. As I said, Jono, you're great. Everyone loves you. You're just too humble.
I sound like Frank Oz did something bad. So please, yeah.
So now we'll have you start. You won't have to listen to my voice anymore for a while. We will get into the fun stuff. So I guess I should briefly talk about why we're doing this webinar today. As you may remember, we've done a lot of different webinars on things like 10DLC and toll-free, advanced throughput, etc. And today we wanted to just do a general one that's less about the basics and more about problems that can might seem small to begin with, but can become serious at scale. And of course, when you're doing things at scale, you might be, for example, in the political space, which it is currently political season. So in any case, without any further ado, I'm going to pass over to Jonathan, and we're going to listen to his voice. Streamlining compliance at scale.
Okay. Hey everyone. So streamlining compliance was kind of my suggestion for this webinar. And the big thing, like word I'm going to try to focus on today is siloing, which thank you, Simon, for the picture at the top right. And siloing is kind of the thing I'm going to go back to over and over at any point I'm going to make here in this slide. And it's the idea that the way to handle 10DLC at scale is to become modular and to break things down into the smallest possible pieces. There are a lot of reasons for this. Prime amongst them is that it is the most compliant way to register. the carriers expect, especially for anybody who is involved in a reseller model, to have each brand that partakes of the service to have its own opt-in, and so its own brand and its own campaign. Now, the other big thing that it's kind of the point that I make in a lot of customer calls, is that if you, let's put compliance aside for a second and just focus on the operational nature of messaging. Anybody who sends enough 10DLC, or toll-free or short-term, but we're going to focus on 10DLC for the moment, knows that it doesn't take a lot of end-user complaints to get a campaign. Submitting a abuse complaint is, especially on iOS devices, as simple as a couple of clicks on your phone and you're done. It is submitted to the carriers. And it could take, one to a handful on one campaign for the carriers to start blocking it. Now, if you, let's say, have a service where you provide messaging for some brick and mortar stores, so they can communicate with their customers. Let's take, for example, Nordstrom Rack. Let's say I have one and I provide messaging for all Nordstrom Rack stores. If there was an accident and I send messages to the wrong customer and they complained and the carriers decided, okay, while we examine this, we're gonna shut down the campaign. Just block all messages involving that campaign ID. And if I then put all the Nordstrom Rack stores on one brand and one campaign, then effectively I've created a single point of failure for for the entire network. And while we troubleshoot the issue with the carriers and convince them that no, in fact, none of this was in bad faith, the end users are not being harassed, blah, 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 messages aren't going out. And that is really kind of at the root of why, again, even if compliance wasn't a factor, I would recommend to every person who intends to scale their business to break campaigns down, to break messaging down to the smallest possible pieces. So if you are a reseller who is providing a messaging service to a lot of brick and mortar businesses, clinics, you're a software provider that provides a service that allows customers to communicate with their own customers in any way, shape, or form that is eventually going to be an A2P message. The biggest thing I wanted everybody to take away from here today is break everything down as small as you can. If the entity has an EIN, employee identification number, and can create its own brand, it should. That's, Simon, if there's a way to put a little fireworks as I say that, it should. So that's the big thing. Now to kind of go down the few bullets that we have here. When I say reseller, I mean somebody who provides a service involving messaging who they sell to different customers. So, for example, the entity registering is not messaging its own customers. They're providing a service so their customers could message a different set of end users. In those scenarios, much like I said, you would want to be registering not the reseller as the brand, unless there is a specific subset of communications that the reseller does on its own, for example, communicate with its own customers, then the brands and campaigns should be created for one level down effectively. So if you have the reseller, you would create it for the reseller's customers, and the reseller's customers are the ones who are going to be communicating with the end users. And just from a compliance standpoint, to give a little bit more color here, the reason this is done this way is because under the rules of 10DLC, and really how the carriers expect compliance to work, opt-in works on a one-to-one basis, which is to say the entity perceived as sending the message is the one you are given opt-in to. So if I go to a clinic, I never, like, even if I sign a form that has the branding of the service provider, really the one I expect is to be sending me the message is the clinic. The one I provided my opt-in to is the clinic. So in all those scenarios, the brand should be the clinic, and the campaign should be whatever use case the clinic needs. And I'll touch upon different use cases in a moment. But that's just kind of the general idea for any reseller, service provider, anybody who, again, is not usually directly messaging their own the end users. This same approach works for smaller businesses. The main differential there is that there is a use case called low volume when you create a campaign, and that campaign has a much lower cost to create. A standard use case costs $10 a month. A low volume cost, if I'm not mistaken, $1.50. So the idea there is that you have a relatively cheaper option for smaller businesses to use, and any business that sends under 2,000 messages in a given day should be using a low volume campaign. Otherwise, they're just paying 5 times what they should. And you see a pointer that says single point of opt-in. To kind of elaborate on that, I will call back to a previous point I think I made in the last few webinars. You want to have an easily diagnosed, very recognizable route for opt-in for any business. Small businesses in particular, who often don't have a lot of control over their websites. It can be something as simple as this is the landing page where the opt-in happens that has a compliant privacy policy and terms and conditions and a clear call to action or CTA that explains how opt-in happens. It's fine if there is a website, a keyword opt-in, in-person, IVR, or a form that they sign in person. All of these are legitimate routes of opt-in, but and all of them can be put into the message flow when you explain how opt-in works for your campaign. But it is always best to highlight at the very top of the message flow, this is the best method to opt in. Like this is the easiest one, kind of the golden path. And so long as you have that, that's the first thing that the carriers are going to look to when they review this campaign. If you don't put in something like that, they're going to look everywhere. And they might find stuff that you don't necessarily intend to be routes of opt-in, but could be construed as such, which could lead to a campaign being declined. And it's just more like it's going to take more time for everything to get approved and for your customer to start messaging. Now, I do have a note here for software companies. They tend to have a bit of a distinction because let's say that you have a company like Zoom where it is the same point of opt-in for all users. However, each user is using it for their own purposes. So the user will have its own brand and campaign. However, it is acceptable to have a single point in which all the users who opt in do so. So it can be a centralized opt-in and a centralized privacy policy. However, the brands and campaigns will need to be broken down. And I know this is probably something that a lot of people are going to have questions on. So I will do my best to address those at the end of this slide or in the Q&A section. And finally, in regards to breaking things up into one brand or campaign or multiple, the brands I've kind of touched upon, you want to have, you're going to have as many brands as there are points of as there are individualized businesses that the end user agrees to. So for example, if the end user can agree to multiple services, but it's one company, it's going to be one brand. If the end user agrees to receive messages from 2 separate companies, it's likely going to be 2 separate brands. Now, in regards to campaigns, TCR in their great kindness has given us what's called the mixed use case. So let's say if you do account notifications, delivery notifications, and marketing and 2-factor authentication, those can all be done under one mixed use campaign, or if you're a smaller business, a low volume mixed use case campaign, if you want to kind of consolidate costs. The one time I would advise the one good reason I would say to diversify out of that and to create essentially a campaign per use case, low volume or not, is if there's any concern that bad behavior on one service might impact another. So take, for example, you are doing, once again, marketing. Let's pick a different business, McDonald's. You want to know when the McRib's out. Great. You're doing marketing, but you didn't watch out for your opt-out lists very well. So you send a message to the wrong person, and after enough complaints, the campaign got blocked. All right. You already followed the rules, so you created, it's only the one shop at the corner of Yancey Street that got hit. However, now you have another service, for example, a delivery notification that also for McDonald's being run on the same campaign. And suddenly the marketing got blocked, but so did the delivery notifications. And so in those scenarios, it can behoove the customer to break things up into, again, even smaller pieces, because the more modular you create the service, the less points of failure, the more points of, or the less individualized points of failure it has, or rather single point. I think I'm kind of confounding the words here, but essentially knocking down one service does not impact another, which again goes back to the point of siloing.
Cool.
Right,
we do need to move into another silo, which is the next slide. We've got about 13 minutes to go on official time. I know we tend to run over. I have a question about SMS hosted numbers. Shall I cover that now or wait till the end?
For hosted SMSs, there are a couple of extra nuances there. Let's wait till the end.
All right.
Obviously, anybody who I cannot get a complete answer here, my email is going to be is above my name throughout this entire session, jonathan.g@telnyx.com. You are welcome to email me directly, and I'll do my best to respond same day.
Cool. Let's do good cop, gray cop, bad cop / content.
So, before I touch upon these, I just want to kind of put out there what is the golden rule for the entirety of messaging. Don't message people who don't want to get who don't want to be messaged. Like have opted in lists and message those lists. It is anything I'm going to say, barring carrier level guidance, like stuff that is just strictly prohibited, is always going to fall into this. Anywhere where there's very clear opt-in and a desire from the user to receive the traffic and a one-to-one opt-in, i.e. they agree to one business and one business is going to be messaging them, likely going to be a good use case. Account notifications, great use case. And going back to McDonald's, I want to know when I got my points. So there is account notifications, marketing, as mentioned, that McRib, I want to know when it's here. And so I get the there's a new deal, and I know I can go get it. And delivery notifications. Is the delivery guy on his way? Is he not? And is the package I ordered from Amazon going to get here? All of these are obviously things that users opt into and they consented to.
I have a very relevant question I think you can answer midstream, which is, do the carriers give any value to enforced opt-in? I think this person means double opt-in. I will only be sent SMS if they replied yes to an invitation initiated either inbound or outbound. Ooh.
So, I mean, I can deal with the specifics of that later, but
yeah,
it's going to be a kind of chicken egg situation. If we're doing, here's the initial message, text Y to receive more messages, I'm always going to ask, how did they get the initial message? How did you get the person's phone number to begin it? If it's a double opt-in, for example, I started online, I got the intro message and I clicked yes, awesome, that's double opt-in, super secure. But if it's a list I got somewhere and then I message people and they have to say why to continue, I'll be like, who are you and why are you sending me messages to begin with?
Yeah.
Which is kind of a great time to move into the gray area. This is use cases that on the face of are usually okay, but have a lot of bad actors within their industries that make it really tricky. And so we want to be very clear on what is allowed and disallowed. Take real estate, which is kind of the king of this. If you go to a realtor and you want to know about deals on a house, and the realtor tells you about those deals or just communicates with you about a lot you're interested in, perfectly fine. That is super opted in and legitimate. There's that's cool. But let's say suddenly I gave my opt-in to one realtor and I'm getting a dozen contacting me. That's indirect opt-in. I never agreed to anybody else to do it. And by the way, for all those wondering, let's say you can have, let's say if you opt in, let's say through Zillow, Zillow cannot, no matter what the language there, it doesn't mean you can now opt into half a dozen different realtors. It has to be something specific. You don't agree to multiple businesses, you agree to one. Now, so that's, let's say, a case of real estate. And also there's plenty of cases in the industry where somebody gets publicly accessible information, like some kind of real what's the word, census list or something like that, and they start reaching out to every resident in the street looking to buy their houses. They never agreed to this kind of messaging. They never consented to it, so that is not opted in. Insurance, if you agree to receive a message from one insurer, great. If there's a broker who talks to you directly, that's great. But if you're in a situation where a broker is now giving your consent to 5 different people, that's problematic. you have to agree to each group to receive messages from them, which is why that little bit of indirect opt-in. And just as a general note, consent may be withdrawn at any time. If the end user tells you stop, you stop. Which I'm not going to belabor this because I think we touched upon this enough in previous meetings. Now, bad content, just to kind of speed run through this. Loans, the carriers are kind of done with this one. Anything involving, especially personal loans, business loans, a little bit more gray turf, but usually they run into issues. Really, any non-major financial institution is going to run into trouble there. If you are curious what that is, the email above my head is a great address. Anything involving Shaft C, sex, hate, firearms, tobacco, and cannabis. If it's prohibited, you can't send for it. Affiliate marketing, as opposed to direct marketing, where you agree to, suddenly you have somebody got a kind of generic opt-in online somewhere, and now you're getting 20 messages a day from different marketers. You never agreed to that. Lead generation, really anything involving lead generation is something the carriers dislike. I'm aware that this might interfere with the function of certain CRM organizations, and there are things that can be done, but any business that who advertises lead generation on their website, they're going to hit a wall there. Especially anywhere where there's any indication where the lists that are being used to create leads were not created by opt-ins, they're created by programs or AI scraping the internet for contacts. And just a last one is work from home. This is, if there's anything here that I believe might change, it might be this one, but currently anything involving work from home jobs is prohibited. This is more going back to the time where a lot of these jobs were pyramid schemes rather than our remote jobs, which many of us do today, myself included. So that's one that I am engaging in an actual conversation with the carriers on, but at the moment it is still considered prohibited. Okay, cool. And just to make sure that we have time to get the error codes, I will go through this. Obviously, this is the political season, so there's a lot of stuff coming in. We have, what, I think 84 lovely days till the election. The political traffic, for anybody who's in the industry already knows these rules, but to iterate an entity, to send a political traffic and all the uncapped throughput that comes with that requires a campaign verified token. You can also get one from Aegis. Campaign Verify is the primary one the industry uses. You have to be a nonprofit to use a campaign verified token. And in turn, you have to have a campaign verified token to create the uncapped political campaigns. That is not to say you cannot do messaging involving politics. Any organizations that are adjacent to it, they can create normal campaigns. They can get the brands vetted, get their scores high. However, they will not be considered political entities, and they will not get the unique throughput afforded to said entities. And because there are plenty of entities out there that are connected to politics, but are not, nonprofit campaigns, as the majority of the political and sending entities are. Proxy use cases, those are, just so we know, a lot of people still have confusion about. A proxy use case is a situation where the campaign is connected to effectively a second phone. So let's say when an Uber driver comes to you and they call you, they're not calling from their phone, and they're calling from a phone that from a number that Uber provides them. That is what a proxy is. It is not just like a customer care situation or something like that. It is a specific situation where you are being given another phone number from which to message, effectively second phones. And charity, it's essentially, it's specifically for communications from a registered charity aimed at providing help and raising money for those in need. It's specifically 501c3 tax-exempt organizations. I've seen other people try to register charity use cases. You will not be able to create a charity if the EIN for your business does not show as a charity in the federal database. There we go. Simon? All right, and this, Philip can help us here real quick. If you can just kind of do a high-level overview of the error codes.
Absolutely. Pleasure to meet you folks. Talking about common delivery error codes. So we have the 40,001, which is non-routable. The fix here is just to remove the number. It's not valid. We have a number lookup API that will allow you to look up a lot of these, look up your phone numbers and the list of phone numbers that you're sending messages to. So my recommendation is not only just remove that number, but also use our number lookup API in situations where you feel like the list of the phone numbers that you're sending messages to are not routable or invalid destinations. Though that is the immediate workaround there. 40,012, again, invalid destination number. Remove the number. It's carrier rejected, so it's not a valid phone number. 40,002, it's blocked as spam. The fix here is don't be spammy. We have a large list of things that we can help you with in terms of making sure that the language that you use doesn't come off as spammy, or perhaps changing some things in your workflow to make sure that you don't come off spammy, or changing the amount of times that you send a message can be perceived as spammy as well to an end user, making sure that you're not excessively sending too many messages, because if users are receiving too many messages, that could also lead to people reporting messages as spam. There's something as receiving messages as if you're receiving many messages in a day, you'll get fatigued, and as an end user, you would get fatigued. So just put yourself in the shoes of the end user, I would say, for this error code, and make sure that if the message is being perceived as spam, make sure that you change the content or change the method of how many times you send that message. 40,016, 40,018. These are 10 DLC sending rate limits reached for both T-Mobile and AT&T. Make sure that you're sending based on the throughputs that are assigned to you based on the campaign that you've created. And so just make sure that you're matching the rate limits that you're sending through your platform match exactly what you've been approved for by the mobile operators here. 40,000 XX errors these are typically, generally speaking, by and large, these are typically external messaging error codes. So what that means is that they're carrier level error codes. So things like 40,001, 40,012, 40,002, those are being reported by the mobile operators as error codes. So you want to make sure that you are following the correct fixes here. These are just the common delivery error codes, but we have a lot more available on our portal in our developer documentation for what you could do in terms of solutions for external messaging error codes. 40,003 XX error codes are API level error codes. Things like I just put an invalid phone number altogether. You put like a 6-digit phone number instead of a 10-digit common phone number for US and Canada. That would be a API level error code because it's just an invalid number altogether. So things of that nature, any API level error codes, those would come back as an immediate callback. You won't get charged for those. So make sure that you fix your API integration and you follow using the correct numbers. Awesome. I'll pass it over to you, Jonathan and team, and Simon.
And Simon, yeah, I think we might have to skip the common questions because I've already got several backed up from the live audience. So we'll get into that and hopefully won't run over too much. So the first question was a person at the start. Thank you for waiting. Hi, could you please help in case of hosted number for SMS? Should we provide a different number for marketing messages so that people don't opt out from the store's main number? If so, should a new campaign be created for that number?
I would say in general, this would apply to a hosted message or not. It's the same principle.
Right.
If you can, it all depends how you want to manage your opt-out, which it can get a bit technical, but if you want to have two separate if you don't want them to opt out from the store, but you in case they opt out of marketing, then yes, I would split it up by two separate campaigns. Again, we do have the option of number level opt-out, which in theory you could keep these on the same campaigns, but this is when you get a little bit into the technical weeds, and to avoid prolonging this right now, again, email above my head, feel free to reach out.
Oh, next one. I tried sending a message. This is delivery error one. I tried sending a message and got the error code 40,002. Message was, hi, I'll leave their name out. Person, thanks for choosing the name of the company. Please provide your feedback by clicking the link below. And then they've got a link with a domain. We embed media links, payment links, etc., Google review links, and it's really important. The reply that we got back from the carrier after raising a support ticket is, That fingerprint is for the domain and then the company's domain name, which was in messages that were reported spammy by end users. I have reset it, but the sender should audit their main mailing lists. What is the solution to this? Also, later it did I think they mean didn't work once the mailing list was reset.
So I'm not going into too much detail. One of the easiest things for the carriers to block is URLs. So if enough end users complain about getting a message, the URL is considered spammy. So any messages with that URL will get blocked. Effectively, the answer there, how to avoid that happening, make sure that the people who are getting this message want to get them. If you are sharing that URL between multiple businesses, then sorry, go ahead, Simon.
Oh, they've just added it did work after reset.
It did or did not?
Did, D-I-D.
Okay, yeah. So if you go to the carriers and say, hey, this URL is fine, and they say, okay, not that many people complain, they'll reset and just tell you to audit your lists. If there has been a high volume of complaints towards a specific URL, then they're going to say, no, whoever is sending from this does not have good practices, and they're going to keep it blocked. Now, I understand that there's a lot of custom URLs out there in the ecosystem, so it's not necessarily the fault of the reseller using that URL, but it could be that one of their customers messed up and it taints the URL in that scenario. It all depends just how much bad responses that specific URL has been tainted with.
Oh, another one. Is there any hope that anytime, actually, I'm going to do these two questions together because we're in the same person, two questions together, same person and similar topic. First one is, so let's do it as a two-part. Is there hope that anytime soon filters will soon become more intelligent, e.g. AI, for example, to discern promoting marijuana versus prohibiting marijuana use? Or as we have seen, the given name of the student actually being the same as a slang term for cannabis. That's an interesting one. And then, has anybody created any sort of list of words that would trigger a spam block? We are contemplating adding functionality to our app that would stop us from accidentally, stop them from doing this before we even attempt to send.
So in regards to intelligent blocking, I definitely know that the carriers do employ some measure of kind of large language models to review these incoming traffic. That doesn't mean it's going to get smarter. It's in that scenario. You can explain situations, but at the end, if they have an issue with the traffic, even if it again is against marijuana rather than pro marijuana, they will probably err on the side of blocking if it's traffic they don't like. In regards to specific keywords, there isn't there are a lot of different keywords from a lot of different businesses. It isn't something that we currently have, but I will, as I know the asker of this question, I will go and look and see if that's something I can put together for you, John.
That's like an interesting feature idea for the product to have like a list. I have another question. I am confused about the tier levels. I assume this is in relation to 10 DLC. I thought it was set by the carriers depending on the brand trustworthiness or something like that. The way Jonathan phrased it, it sounds like the tier can be selected when submitting a campaign registration. Could you clarify how do carriers allocate a brand's tier and therefore the text per minute or text per day?
So if I gave the impression that it is based on anything other than trustworthiness, I do apologize. I was describing two exceptions to the regular set of rules, which is low volume, in which you are effectively saying, I don't need a higher score, so that you will always be capped to the lowest throughput possible and the lowest T-Mobile limit possible. And political, which due to them getting an external token, go through a different verification process. Anything else is subject to the trustworthiness, as you mentioned it, or the trust score, and which is based on a number of factors. How long the business has been around, the size of the business, if the consistency within the brand creation, so that support email matches the domain, and any other host of factors that not all of them are given visibility, but effectively it's usually, are you big? Is your use case good? Usually they'll give you an appropriate score. If it's an up-and-comer who needs a higher score and is having a hard time getting one, there are disputes that can be submitted. They're not always successful, but it's something we're happy to assist with. But to be clear, short of the couple of exceptions, the brand scores is very much determined by the trust.
Cool. And I've got another one. Hi, I would like to get a few local numbers from you for SMS. I only use QR codes on storefronts and table signs to initiate prospect engagements. Can I help get processing verbiage or messaging to move towards approval/verification?
So my advice regarding QR codes, there is no issue using them, but obviously a QR code leads to a link somewhere, usually. So I would say you can explain in the message flow is that customers scan QR codes and in turn are redirected to the following link where they provide opt-in. Unless you're telling me that from the moment that the scan itself triggers the initial opt-in text, in which case that works by the principle of double opt-in. So they scan, they get a text, and part of that text includes, welcome to business, blah, blah, blah. And to receive notifications, click Y. And if you want to go into more detail about that, as we're 10 minutes over, again, my email.
Cool. And just in case you're in a rush, you can also send emails to 10dlcquestions@telnyx.com. Now, I'll keep going because we do have more questions. If sending links, this is a really good one about links. Do carriers care about the TLD or the domain? For example, will .com get through, but a .me domain will get blocked?
It is oh, sorry, Philip, please go ahead.
Philip does this one all the time.
Yeah. And Jonathan, feel free to interject here as well. But .coms are typically encouraged. Where I do start to see problems is with .io TLDs. Furthermore, if you are doing any kind of redirection, make sure that it is a temporary redirect, so a 307 temporary redirect for the URL itself. Any permanent redirects can cause problems with a lot of the carriers as well. Jonathan, if you wanted to add in any additional input on this topic.
No, it is pretty straightforward. The .coms tend to have a much better reputation because, and it's not necessarily inherent to having a different domain that's the issue. It's that there's a lot of bad use cases out there who abuse those domains and in turn have gotten a bad rep for the industry.
Yes. Link shortening is another one we often get questions about on that topic, so worth reading up.
Do not use public URL shortener. Feel free to use custom URL shorteners.
Exactly.
And Bitly's are going to almost certainly get blocked.
Yeah.
Bitly bit.ly for all those. Yes.
Noted. Quick fire on the common questions. Just to wind up, unless anyone else has any other questions. So question one, which we get a lot, should I make sub accounts for every single customer, particularly for resellers?
When you mean sub accounts, are you referring to set up in our portal? In which case,
A managed account.
Philip, can you take this one?
Absolutely. We do not recommend sub accounts. Our sub account, we do have something called managed accounts that allows you to create your prod, your dev and staging environments. But for separating your customers in your Telnyx account, we recommend using separate messaging profiles and then having separate phone numbers assigned to all your different customers using those messaging profiles. From a reporting standpoint and from a technical standpoint, it makes your integration a lot easier because it's a single pane of glass, single account, and you can have single API key or multiple API keys allocated to that single account.
Typical rate limits, I'm just going to ask people, you can check in the portal, but in short, it can go anywhere. Toll frees, once they're verified, can send very fast, up to, I believe, 1,200 messages per SMS per second or per minute. I think it's per minute, right, Philip? 10DLC, it varies wildly by the brand score. You can have as little as 2,000 messages a day to T-Mobile and as many as 200,000 messages a day, and a speed of as low as 4 messages a number a second, and as many as, I believe, 60.
Cool. Do I need to add a website privacy policy? I believe
Yes.
the answer is yes. And can I collect opt-ins via IVR/phone call/verbally? I'm going to attempt this one myself. Generally, it's much better to have a tick box on a website. You want the paper trail, because one, it's more reliable, and two, if you ever get audited or someone disputes something, you've got that whole trail back there. It's also easier for carriers and so on when they're assessing you. If they can see that there's a formal form that you have to opt into, then it looks a lot more legit than when you just saying, oh yeah, my staff asked people to opt in, and they just have to take your word for it. Is that fair?
It is fair. Also, keep in mind, if you say IVR in your message flow and they find a website that has a route that could be construed as opt-in, they're going to narrow in that website.
Interesting. Cool. I think we've covered all of the questions that we had in Q&A as well. Oh, no, someone's just asked another question. Okay, let's give this one a go. If there is a number hosted with a different SaaS platform with carrier, they put TW, I think they might be talking about our friends at Twilio. I'm not sure. So if we raise a request with Telnyx to get that number for texting, what's the downtime for texting service? Also, I think it's about porting. Also, yes, they said yes, they are talking about Twilio. That's okay. We work with lots of Twilio customers. It's not Voldemort. You can say their name. So if we raise a request with Telnyx to get that number for texting, what's the downtime? Also want to know the re-registration of A to P campaign timeframe.
Okay, so if you're looking to, and again, Philip, please feel free to correct me if I'm wrong. I believe that the turnaround for hosted messaging is a couple of days. Is that accurate, Philip?
24 to 48 hours, and there typically is no downtime.
Yeah.
Assuming that you've done the integration correctly on our end, you can cut over pretty seamlessly with hosted SMS.
Yeah, and then once you cut over, you just have to make sure to assign the number to the campaign in question. Right?
Cool. And on that note, speaking of moving service from other providers, is campaign migration functional?
Campaign migration is expected to go live sometime around September or October. And once the mechanism is still being determined to some extent, once it is live and functional, we will advise.
Awesome. So if you have further questions, you can email Jonathan. He's got his email there up next to his head. You can also email Philip. And if you want to ask questions about 10DLC specifically, which is always a hot topic, 10DLC questions at telnyx.com. You can go to telnyx.com/contact us and talk to people that way. Or if you want to check out our guide, if you're what we call an ISV, so you're a software company or something similar to that, and you're doing things like reselling or integrating messaging into your application, we've written a guide on this topic. So you just go to tlyx.co/ISV SMS, or if you go and look on our blog page, I think it's called the ISV SMS guide or something like that. And you can get lots of stuff there. You can also go to our support pages. And I think that's pretty much everything we had to cover today.
Excellent. In which case, everybody, thank you for hopping on. And we'll probably do another one of these in the next few months.
Awesome.
Take care, folks.
All right. Thanks, everyone, for joining. If you are looking for the recording, we'll send that out in the next couple of business days. And as always, you can always contact us via one of the methods on the slide here, or just go to our contact page on the website. We're too happy to help.
Okay. Bye, everybody.